Welcome to the Business of Fitness podcast.
Thank you for having me, Dan.
What does it mean to be locally famous and why should fitness business owners care?
Locally famous is about becoming the known or the go-to person for insert your niche here in your local area. Um, it's important because it takes a long time to it can take a long time to build trust with people. Like it's not generally not a one thing, like the first time you meet somebody or the first time they see you or the first time they stumble across you. It takes time, and it's lots of little things that add up over time. So rather than thinking of, trying to create something that has that one thing that has like a powerful impact, it's about adding it up over time. People get to know you over time, building that trust over time. So then they think about you when that problem comes up for them. So
Cool. I wanted to get you on today to talk about this because there is no one better that I've come across at being locally famous and being famous in A, your niche, but B, your geographical area. Before we jump into that, because I want to get very tactical with this, right? I want
yes.
people to be able to walk away from this conversation and literally have a list of things to do to become locally famous. Before we get into that, let's give them a little bit of context, a little bit of background. Your business is called Say Yes Fitness.
It
What does
is.
that name mean?
Oh man, I put so much pressure on myself naming my business, right? I kind of feel like it was naming my child. Like I really wanted it to be punchy and meaningful, timeless, not rhyme with rude words or whatever. Like I wanted it to be memorable. Um, and at that time that I was looking, there was a lot of fit body names. There was Fit Body by this or Body Fit, and fitness and body were a lot in the title. And what I wanted to capture was what health and fitness gave you, or what was the outcome and what was the benefit other than a body, other than a fit body. And so it was about capturing that benefit. It was about, it gives you the ability to say yes to a full life, a happy life, an adventurous life, say yes to things you love. Fitness gives you the ability to say yes to playing with your kids down the park. Strength gives you the ability to go on active adventures with your husband or whatever it is. So originally that was the reason. But then the funny thing was, what I found with my niche of mainly mums and midlife women, it was they couldn't see that. Like that was so far away. Being able to say yes to all that stuff was still out of their reach. And what they were stuck with was saying yes to themselves. Like what they needed to start with is just saying yes to them. So now it has this beautiful double meaning. It's like say yes to yourself and your health so you can say yes to this life that you love, kind of thing. Purely by accident, but absolute marketing genius, like really. I
Um,
love our name so much.
tell me, tell me why you're different. And you've alluded to some of this, and I think a lot of it is in the name, but what makes your business different? And I don't mean what makes your business better. I'm not asking why
Mhm.
are you better than other people in this same space, but what's your unique selling proposition? What's your USP? Why are you different?
I feel like this is a trick question coming from you, but not just one thing, lots of things. And I'm going to start with the boring answer because I do believe, what's written on paper or we have a unique setup or a different setup. Women's only, small groups, family friendly. We're the mix that we offer, so strength, cardio, Pilates, yoga, really good mix in a community space, so not in a gym. It's a shared space. We're not there all the time. We're not plaster all over the walls. And we utilize both indoor and outdoor. So I really love that mix. And I think that's quite unique and different, but that's also the boring answer. I think what makes us, if you were to ask people, the feeling that makes us different is it feels like you're walking into a friend's house, not a fitness studio. And everything that we do kind of helps create that. I feel our big difference is kind of the chaos that we bring. Like I describe us as a little bit more, because we've got kids and our kids can come to any of our classes, mainly the mid-morning ones, obviously, but they can come to any of our classes. And so they're not separate from our classes. They're in it. They're on the gym floor. They're eating sultanas off their floor. They're shadowing their mum. They're screaming at you to open the banana or whatever it is. It's not neat. It's not quiet. It's a little bit chaotic. And I think that makes it real, relatable, authentic, comfortable, all that.
Yeah. It does sound very real.
Yes.
Yeah. To a fault sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And that's definitely what comes across on your social media. I mean, I don't think I've said this to you before, but a lot of people, because obviously I mentor a lot of people in this space, right?
Yeah.
You don't know this, but a lot of other fitness business owners or fitness professionals, they use you and Say Yes Fitness as a bit of a model for what they want their social media to be. And that is the authenticity. It is the consistency of branding all the way down to the colors. And I know there's much more to branding than what your logo looks like and what colors you have, but you are a little bit of a model to people, whether you know it or not, around that realness. And a lot of other people are now trying to pursue that. So props to you for that. Whatever you're doing is working. And I actually said to you, as we were emailing before we jumped on this chat, I said, I'd like to talk about your social media strategy. And you said, haha, strategy. Yeah, sure. Winky face with tongue sticking out.
Winky wink.
Yeah. So whether intentional or not, it seems to be a good strategy. And ultimately it's because it's real. It's not pretentious. It's authentic. It's genuine. And I want to talk more about that in a moment. That's what makes you different. Who are you for? And again, you've touched on this already, but you have real clarity around who you're for, which is rare because a lot of people try to be everything to everyone. You're definitely not. Who are you for?
We are for mums and midlife women is like the bracket, but really for those women that feel unseen, unheard, uncatered for in the fitness industry. They definitely don't align with the Fitspo culture and they don't see themselves in the gym bunny scene. The ones that are juggling kids' careers, all the mental load, looking after older parents. They want to move their bodies. They want to feel strong. They want to have energy, but they don't know where to start or how to make it stick. Potentially people that feel judged in gyms or overwhelmed by gyms or a bit scared. Real women, real lives that want to exercise in a way that feels good and is sustainable.
I like how you described that avatar because you sort of did it in two parts. The first was you told me what the demographic was, which was mums and midlife women, right?
Yeah.
And then you told me the important bit, I think, as far as the avatar goes, and that's the psychographic. And that's where you told me this is for the type of person who needs ... right?
Yeah.
And you outlined their problems. And I think a lot of the time people make the mistake of defining their avatar as age, sex, gender, where do they live? And it's all very cold.
Yeah.
And it is about labeling people based on the year they were born in, etc. Right. So I love the fact that you have a psychographic that you're targeting. It is a type of person. It's a type of person rather than a category of person, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and what I see a lot in the fitness space that gives me a bit of the ick, if I can say that, and you might see it as well, is a lot of gyms, like you were saying before, market themselves to everybody. So they say a really common line that has been used by every gym pretty much. And it's like, we cater to everybody. We're for everybody. That's nobody, right?
It is.
Or it's not specific. You know what that says is we're for the gym people. We're for the people that like the gym, that are comfortable in the gym, that have been to the gym. You're not for everybody. And that's not to say you're not. That's not to say other people aren't welcome and you don't do a good job of that. But that does not speak to anybody. That just says that's not for me.
Yeah. I think the best example I've heard of that concept. You're a coffee drinker, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you take your coffee?
Oh, flat white, nothing fancy.
Okay, cool. So
Efficient.
people generally fit into one or two categories. They're either an iced coffee drinker or they're drinking a hot coffee, right? So it's one of the two categories. So if you look at those two groups of coffee drinkers and say, oh well, I'm gonna launch a coffee that is for everyone. They say, let's find the average of this. And you average out iced coffee and a piping hot coffee, and you're serving them tepid, lukewarm coffee.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
If you try and be everything to everyone, you end up providing something that solves no one's problem because no one wants lukewarm, tepid coffee, right?
Yeah.
So I think you do a great job of not only saying, who are we for, which on its own is a challenging exercise,
Yeah.
but I think you do an even better job of saying who you're not for. And that's something that I really appreciate about your branding and your
Yeah.
social presence is I can very clearly see who you're not for. And I'm sure you have people who turn up and inquire,
Yeah.
and you have the confidence because you have the confidence in your USP, your avatar, and your product.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll say to people, hey, I just don't think we're the best fit for you. Here are some
Yeah.
places you can go that might be a better fit. Is that a fair call?
Yeah, for sure. And that took a long time to learn because I think we're um, naturally people pleasers and we want to help people and we want to be kind.
And you also want to have a successful business.
Yeah.
And turning
Yeah.
away people who want to pay you money doesn't
Yeah.
feel like successful
No,
business
it doesn't feel
practice,
like success.
at least in the short term. But I'd
Exactly.
imagine long term for you it is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, yeah. Being really clear on your niche and speaking to those people, it's so much more efficient. You don't get stuck on what to write because you've got, you know how to speak to them. You know what they need. You know how you've even preempted when something's going to cause, a shift in the matrix kind of thing, because it's a
Yeah.
similar thing for them.
And I see your understanding of your avatar. I mean, I'd say my favorite post, and I'm not a mum,
Yeah.
as you can probably tell,
The parent.
but I am a parent, and I
Yes.
think one of my favorite parts of your social media is your use of, I think, what's called observational humor, right? And it's basically where you just take a normal everyday mum struggle and you highlight it and you say to people, hey, look, here's a struggle I'm having, you probably are too. I think it's very real, whether you're posting about you sitting in your car with tears in your eyes after the drop off at school, or whether you're making a joke out of something that mums have to deal with.
Yeah.
It seems very genuine, which is a word we've used before to describe you. You obviously get your avatar, you obviously understand them, maybe because you are your avatar. Do you think it's possible to run a successful business if you're not your avatar? Is it easier for you because you are your avatar and you get their problems?
I think I am lucky in that I'm those both worlds, right? Like, I don't believe you have to be your avatar. That's like saying, in my mind, it'd be similar to, well, you can't treat somebody with depression if you haven't been through depression yourself, or you can't treat somebody with cancer if you haven't been through cancer yourself. Like, I think you don't have to be your avatar. A great coach or trainer or business will absolutely understand their avatar, will empathize with their avatar authentically, and they'll use their expertise, because that's what they are. They're an expert for their community. They'll use it well. So I'm definitely one of the lucky ones that have both, because I do have a personal understanding of my avatar. I am in it. I'm not on the sidelines. I'm in the trenches, as we say, with them. I know what it's like to feel exhausted before you've even started the day. I know what it's like to juggle lots of things, to feel guilty every time you say yes to yourself. Like, I understand that. I know what it's like to feel like there's not things that are catered to you and your stage of life. And that's why I built this space, because I saw the gap. That was the gap that I saw that I wanted to change. And that understanding helps shape everything. But I definitely don't believe you have to be your avatar.
Okay.
For me personally, it makes social media heaps more fun.
Okay, so
Such a suck.
here's an interesting thought experiment for you there. How
Yeah.
long's Say Yes Fitness been around? You've been around a while now.
We've been in business for 8 years, but Say Yes is since COVID 2020.
Okay, cool. So
5
let's
years.
call it 8 years, right? 8 years from now, you will be 8 years older. You will have changed.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you'll be a different person going through different health challenges, etc.
absolutely.
Do you think that in 8 years, the average age of your clients will be 8 years older? Are they going to grow with you? Is your business going to change as you come up against different problems that you're facing personally?
You're asking me what I'm going to be doing in 8 years' time.
You got
I don't
no
know
idea
what I'm
what
doing
you're doing
in 8
tomorrow
minutes,
morning,
Dan.
do you? Mum life.
No, I think about that a lot. I do think about that a lot, because I know this business has absolutely evolved with me.
Mm.
I started as a FIFO mum, so that's a big thing that was pushing. And I started with as a mum of one. And then, you know, it has evolved. And then mum of two, and you start talking about two kids, and now midlife, and you start talking about that. And, you know, so I do see it evolving. And if that's where Say Yes goes, like, that's cool as well. But if Say Yes, I don't know, changes, obviously, maybe I'll have trainers, maybe I won't. Yeah, I'm not sure how to answer that, because I don't know where I'm going to be in 8 years.
I know. Yeah. Look, I mean, it's interesting looking back at my own business.
Yeah,
My style of prescription of health, for want of a better word, has definitely
yes.
changed as my personal focuses have changed. I mean, I'm 40 now. I started the business when I was 21. So the business is 19 years
Wow.
old this year. And the goals of a 40-year-old dad of two little girls are very different to the goals of a 21-year-old still
Yeah,
post-grad uni. Like, they're extremely different. And
so different.
as my perspectives on life, in particular on health, have changed, our service offering has changed as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll follow up in 8 years with you.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Let's do that. See what I'm talking about.
Final question for you before we jump into the real practical stuff
Yeah.
around becoming locally famous. And this sort of leads into it. Where do you get your clients from? Where do people come from? Because this is the problem that a lot of fitness business owners have, right? It's
Yeah.
if I just had more clients slash members, then everything would be okay.
Yeah.
Where do yours come from?
Well, I pulled some stats on that,
Right.
actually. Around about 50% come from word of mouth. And there's two bits that connect to that. One is a friend, one is somebody that already comes through our door, tells or brings somebody else, one of their friends. So that's the biggest one. The next one is people will post a comment. We'll post on a Facebook community group and say something like, I'm a new mum in the area, or I'm looking for this. Can anybody suggest anything? And our community members will get onto that post and comment and recommend us. And often I see those, and that's great, and I can thank people, but I also make an effort to reply and say, I'm Renee, owner of Say Yes, and here's some potential others, considering what they've written, because I know our girls absolutely are our raving fans and will always promote us, whether it's the right place or not.
Little micro influencers.
Yeah.
Yep.
So those are the big two, word of mouth for sure.
Okay.
Next is Google. So that's around 30%, just under 30%. And if I have a look at what people are Googling to find us, it's quite often the big one is Say Yes is in the words that they've typed.
So people are looking for you, they're not looking for fitness. Gotcha.
Yeah. And then underneath that is women's fitness near me, women's something. And that's how they find us. So that, and then social media is about 20%, more from Facebook than from Instagram. And
are they from paid strategies, or is this organic, someone sliding into your DMs type thing?
I haven't paid for ads on Facebook for about a year now. I put spend behind Google, but I don't pay Facebook because I was finding it would pull more of the not right crowd. It would be quantity leads, not quality leads.
It's casting the net very wide instead.
Yeah, it does. It casts it really wide. And, you know, because you can be selective of what ads you see and stuff as well. So I stopped doing that. And you know what? It feels good not to give Meta my money, to be honest. So, yeah. So not paid, but people stumbling across us or sharing things. I actually have and this is maybe a strategy I'll talk about later, but I have a cheerleader group. And when there's a post that I want to get traction on, and I don't do this a lot because I don't feel like it's something, you know, otherwise it's not authentic, but every now and again I'll say, hey, can you get behind this post?
You set the dogs on them.
Yeah. And so that I think works. And then, car magnets is the other one that people say. That's about 1% to 2%.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
It happens to be in the right place at the right time, and they saw my car magnet.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I definitely want to jump into some of these practical strategies.
Yeah.
Just a quick, you running through those percentages there. It seems to me like 80% of your inquiries are coming through being locally famous. I mean, that's basically what you're telling me, is that 80% of the people who are inquiring in your business are coming directly from the strategies that we're about to discuss. So
Yeah.
this, I think that fitness business owners should be sort of pricking their ears up and saying, wow, if this successful business is bringing in 80% of people from the strategies that we're about to go through, perhaps these are some of the things they can implement too.
Absolutely.
We were talking a little bit about some of these strategies because I want to get very practical now. So as we
Yeah.
go through,
Love me practical.
the more like practical, I basically want people to be able to listen to this and then wake up tomorrow morning and start doing the
Do the
things that you're
thing.
suggesting,
Yeah.
right? So you've given me sort of two broad categories here
Yeah.
of strategies to become locally famous: offline
Yep.
profile, online profile. Okay. But you also mentioned there's like a common theme that
Yeah.
runs through these. Can you sort of tell me what that is? And then after we cover these, I'm
Yep.
also very interested. You've sort of given me a sneak peek and said you're going to tell me about something called the Google test. I don't know
Ooh,
what
yeah.
that is, but after we've been through these, I
Yep.
need to ask you about that. Okay. So is there a common theme underpinning these strategies for you?
Yeah. Your service, essentially, your niche and your service. So you need clarity, your USP, you need to be damn clear on that.
Yep.
Because it feeds into everything else you do from here. And your service needs to be a delightful, high quality service, as you know, as we say. So high quality service, you're really taking care of your members, because if you want that word of mouth to be number one, that's what people talk about.
Yeah.
So those two things underpin everything: your service and your USP.
Steve Martin, the comedian, he was interviewed some years ago, and the interviewer said to him, "What advice would you give to young comics who are trying to come through and make their name in the world?" And it was super simple. He said, "Be so good they can't ignore you."
Yes.
And I just think that is beautiful. And Cal Newport, the author, who also wrote Deep Work, he wrote a book stealing that phrase from Steve Martin, and the book is called "So Good They Can't Ignore You."
Yes.
And I think the book is worth buying just to sit on a shelf so you can read the cover multiple times a day.
Every now and again. Yeah.
And I think it's
a reminder.
It's the best marketing strategy. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's jump into these practical ideas.
Yes.
You've broken these down into offline profile, online profile. Tell me where you want to start here with the offline profile.
Let's start with offline.
Yeah.
And I'm going to focus on things that I do.
Right.
And,
No,
and then
perfect.
I'll give some other things that you might like to do as well. So you
Right.
can't do everything, but I'll focus on the ones that I do first. Yeah. So number one is tell people what you do. And so I strike up conversations with people at the park, at the kids' play centre, at basketball training. If I try and be friendly and approachable, and I'm not salesy and I'm not pushy, but tell people what you do is number one. Don't hide it. So strike up those conversations. Number two, I'm really big on connecting with local businesses. So multiple women's health physios, multiple physios, and other healthcare providers. Like I'm pretty close with an acupuncturist, a nutritionist, an eating disorder recovery coach, a sleep consultant, a life coach, anything that I think my niche would benefit from. I seek out those people, and I don't just know them. I catch up with them. I share about them to my stories. I include them in my articles. I post about them. I tag them in things. I reach out to them. Like those need nurturing as well.
Yeah, and I know in the past you've also actually listed these people on your website, right?
Yes.
As your sort of trusted advisors, trusted partners, etc., in the health space.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think it's really important that you stay in your lane and in this industry, and even more so as we see just the state of health and education in the sphere of the world, in the online world. So you don't have to know everything, just like you don't expect your clients to know everything. Having that good support around you, knowing when to refer on, that's good care. That's great. That's great health, I think. So mentioning, I did have them on my website, and then website got a bit of a tidy up, but you can also have them on your Facebook, banner kind of thing. Like make it known that you do connect with these people, if they're okay with you doing that, obviously, because
look, I think it's a smart move, because you're basically saying, as you said, I need to stay in my lane. You're basically saying, here is what we're really good at.
Yeah.
and here is what we're not good at.
Yeah.
And what people tend to do, it's this sort of idea of goal dilution. I mean, it's like walking into a big gym, right? So you walk into a big gym, you got a bunch of A3 posters on the wall with all
Yeah.
of the personal trainers all dressed in black, all with their arms crossed, all looking very serious. And there's some quote at the top, the true growth happens outside your comfort zone, or something
Yeah.
like that at the top. And then they have their areas of expertise. And
Yes.
if you want to go into a gym and you want to get strong, you're like, I'm here to get strong. And you look at the first poster, areas of expertise, um, cardio training, high rocks prep, hypertrophy, rehab, prenatal, postnatal, boxercise, Pilates, yoga, strength work, right?
Yeah.
Then you look at the second poster and it just says strength training. And that is
Yeah.
the only thing. Even though the
That one.
first person has said that they also do strength training,
Yeah.
there's such a dilution there that you don't trust the fact that they specialize in those. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's smart, having those
Yeah.
like-minded partners that you associate with. Okay,
Yeah.
what's our next offline strategy to become locally famous?
Support local businesses. So go and hang out at the businesses that, and that's an enjoyable thing. Go have coffee at the coffee shops, tag them, share their stuff, host events there, the activities. And this is where it gets a bit of a fine line, because obviously I also share a lot about what my kids do in the community, but I also don't want to overshare what my kids do in the local community. So it's finding that safe balance. Like, I do love to promote local businesses that I love and that my kids love, but I don't want every bastard to know where I am every second of the week either. So, just be a bit cautious of how you share as well. You don't have to share everything live time, real time. It can be a week later, 2 weeks later, whatever. But yeah, so businesses that align with your business, absolutely, but also businesses that your niche use, and support them. Give them shout outs on social, tag them, share their stuff, that kind of stuff.
It seems like
So
a real
another one?
common theme of a strategy of lifting other people up,
Yeah,
which just from a pure, I am a nice person, I'm being benevolent, that it seems like a pretty good strategy. Just
yeah,
be a nice person and
be a
surprise,
nice
surprise,
person.
it'll help your business. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no joke. And I think I never wanted to get in business because I saw business as this really dog eat dog.
Corporate.
Yeah. And so I
Yeah.
always shied away from doing business. And then I met somebody when I first got into business who wasn't like that. And I was like, wow, you don't have to be like that in business. Cool. Let's do that. That looks more fun, Anyway.
It should be. It should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me what's next.
Attend local community events. So go to your council-led events or the free events in your community. Not everything, obviously, or you could even just share what's happening in your community. There's a lot of good stuff out there, but there's so much noise that a lot of people don't know about the good stuff and the free stuff. So attend things, tag people. Say, for example, I am a big supporter of our local council and the events they put on. So as much as I can, I get to those free events and I, share about those because I think they're great. They're great events for people to get to, especially, they're great events for my niche to get to. So that one, what else have we got? Oh, go back up.
You spoke about car magnets before, that you said 2 or 3% of people are coming from there, which is crazy, because you see these magnets and I often wonder whether they ever do anything.
Yes, but if
talk
you
to me
are
about the
attending
magnets.
things, if you're going to things, if you're at your local businesses, if you park strategically so people can see your magnets, if you attend local events, people will see your car over time. So it sounds silly, but when you're around, and something I've had people say to me before is, man, I see your car everywhere. It's like,
wow.
Taxi era, right? All I do is drive kids around everywhere. So put some magnets on that. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I guess there's an additive effect here. If you're wearing a branded t-shirt and you've got a magnet on your car and you're having coffee at a local coffee shop, we're combining these things, they become more than the sum of their parts, right?
Yeah.
So
talking about clothing, branded clothing for sure. Like, you obviously wear it with pride. And like one of the shirts that I really love that we have has our values on the back. So we have Say Yes on the front and we have our values on the back. And I've had compliments on, wow, I really love that, what you've written on the back there. It really speaks from mums and midlife women. They're the ones that go, wow, you know, I really love that shirt. So I wear it with pride. My members wear it with pride. I send it to businesses as well, so they can wear it at their local, you know, like they can wear it at their local cafe when they're working behind or whatever. Like,
That's smart.
Yeah. So I have, you know, I sent one to our local women's health physio, and she did a reel about it in this top, you know, because I'd sent her that. Like, it's just businesses helping businesses kind of thing, like those little gifts. So we've also got this ongoing joke that, you know, we kind of nickname girls in our community as yes girls. Yeah, girl. And so when you see somebody with a say yes top out, you're like, yeah, girl. And then it's yeah, girl. So there's
it turns into a club.
Yeah. So it's like a team, you know. So I like that.
Yeah.
Branded clothing for sure. Not just for you, not just for your members, but send it to people as gifts. People are happy to love supporting, you know, your business.
Yeah.
Next one, I donate to local fundraisers and sponsor local events. So when people put a call out for P&C raffle prizes, or I often get emails from local sporting clubs holding, you know, quiz nights, and can you donate something? So get involved in those kind of things. It's something that I did a lot more at the start, but I don't find I do so much now. It was a good way at the start. And even when I was first starting business, I offered to do free group sessions for sports clubs, for netball clubs, because that was my thing. So I'd be like, you know, and that was a good way, focusing on clubs that had youth teams. And so then I knew I would be seen by mums. So
great.
See, I love to give back to the community. So that's the big reason that I did it. But the benefit of it as well was people were also seeing you out on the court doing the thing and then sharing about it later.
Yeah. I think something that's smart about that strategy, particularly the netball, which is, you know, maybe you've got 6 to 14-year-old girls there whose mums fall right inside your catchment.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we try to position ourselves in front of our avatar, our target customer, we try and position ourselves literally in front of them. But sometimes you support youth sport, grassroots, local sport clubs, even though your avatar is not an 8 to 14, 16-year-old girl, they're pretty closely associated with your avatar. So I think that's a good move.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons my avatar can't get to classes is because they're taking these kids to their things. I know, you know, it's a good place to be.
Yeah.
And I suppose whatever you do, just know, share, like tell people about it. Like it's like humble brag kind of thing.
Yeah.
Here's what I did at the local netball club kind of thing.
It's okay to be proud of what you do.
It's okay to be proud and to be proud of helping people out. So, so donating. I volunteer in my local community. So I'm a committee member of a local group called the Bayswater Women's Workshop, which is like a men's shed, nothing like a men's shed, but for women. It's the easiest way to describe it. But essentially we're a shed and we put on workshops for women to come and learn how to use power tools and tools and make things. So completely different to fitness. And that's why I love it. It's a different crowd. We don't talk health and fitness in that space, you know, but it's still got a real connection to health, community, well-being, confidence kind of thing. And I love being able to do that. I do that because I love it, but I also think that helps my brand, not necessarily my brand, but me, my personal brand compared to my business brand. Yeah, because I don't go, I'm not necessarily going there and going, hey, I'm Renee from Say Yes. But when you do the Google test, one thing leads to another. That's how people find you.
It's sounding to me like being a nice person who is a good citizen and active in your community. Actually a pretty good business strategy. And being nice is perhaps a good way to cut through the cutthroat corporate we must win bullshit that's sometimes there when you're in a highly competitive space like the fitness space. So it's quite refreshing.
So that's basically a lot of the stuff that I'm focusing on at the moment. The other things you can do, obviously signage on your studio. Now, because I'm in a community space, I can't plaster my sign all over the walls on the outside. So you wouldn't even know walking past that we're there. You only know because when I park my car out there. So we don't rely on people walking past. We don't have walk past, traffic that walk past. We used to be at another location and I'd park my car right out the front it was on a main road and people would see my magnets, but now we're kind of off the main drag. So I don't get clients that way, but signage is really important. You can print and post flyers and put them around your community. I generally don't do that because I think, well, when I go places, do I read the notice boards? Not necessarily.
And you are your avatar.
Concerned with keeping my child off the tables, kind of thing.
Yeah, stop playing on the road.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely having flyers, posters on notice boards that connect to your niche. I'm not saying just go and fucking put posters up everywhere. Be strategic about it. You could give talks to places where your niche hangs out or offer to give talks. So for me, that might be daycare centres or mothers groups and things like that. You can get into your local media if that's a thing. You can nominate for local awards or, be up for local awards, and lead boxes is the other one. I don't do that, but, you could do lead boxes as well.
Yeah. Are those most of the offline strategies you're using?
Those are all kind of offline ones.
Yeah. Should we move to the online stuff? What are you doing in the online space to become locally famous?
So online is about having a presence, your profile online. So if people do search you, that they can find you, or that when they find you, they know they're in the right place. So it's very clear what you do and who you're talking to. So that should be number one. You need to create not just content, but good content, awesome content, feel good content, whatever it is, for your niche. You need to create content for your niche. And there's obviously, content strategies, there's heaps to that. But I suppose the thing to keep in mind is, like I said at the start, people don't just see you once and think, oh, this is the thing. Like I would love to know what the actual stat is, because I reckon most people follow us for at least 3, 6, 12, sometimes 2 years.
Yep.
And that's not because they don't want to come. It's because baby, it's because second child, it's because returning to work, it's because all these other challenges. So you need to, that is like it's a consistent thing. It's a ongoing, that has to be an ongoing thing built up over time. Yeah.
Yeah. An example I use of I think we've spoken about this in the past, but for anyone who's grown up in Perth, which is where we record this podcast, if I were to say to anyone who's grown up in Perth, just over the Causeway in Victoria Park, everyone knows knows that I'm talking about John Hughes.
John Hughes.
So he is he's been advertising on the sides of buses, on bus stops, on TV, on the radio, since the days that there were only 3 channels you could watch on TV, right? So since I was 3, I have been positioned to trust John Hughes. So he was marketing to me as a 3-year-old. As a 3-year-old or 4 or 5 or 13, 14, 15, 16, I wasn't thinking, when I go to buy a car, I should drive just over the Causeway in Victoria Park. However, I know that that's where I should go because that same sentence has been bandied around for a couple of decades. And I think this is the same. When it came time to buy a car, somehow I just found myself traveling over the Causeway in Victoria Park. So it's positioning yourself there. It's digging the well for your potential clients. So when they become thirsty, they can drink.
Yeah. Because what I'm sure there's some saying that says you need to spend X amount of hours with people before you trust them, or see something X amount of times before you buy. I'm sure there's those kind of things as well.
Trust is important.
Yeah. And with that, like I was talking about before, when people comment on, make a post in a Facebook group, because this is another one, in Facebook groups, be a part of Facebook groups. Know what's happening in your community. You don't have to follow everything to the nth degree or comment every time there's a freaking helicopter that flies overhead, but knowing what's annoying your community, or what they're excited about, or what's happening. So be a part of those Facebook groups and contribute. Don't be a stalker in the corner. Like, contribute, not in a salesy way, in a kind, helpful, neighborly way. Contribute to things. Because when you do comment and then people see those comments. And often when people, like if somebody posts and says, I'm looking for a place I can, a woman comments and says, I'm looking for a place for fitness. I've got 2 young kids or whatever. It's not just our members that comment. It's people that don't come to us that comment because they know about us as well. And we may not be for them, but they know about us because they've heard.
That's great.
Whatever, so that's important.
Yeah. I think when people who are not actually your clients and members become raving fans, you've made it. So that's good. So
good time.
These community Facebook groups, which I agree are a massive untapped resource for people trying to grow their business. Let's say you put 100 comments up in that Facebook group. How many of those 100 comments have got anything to do with your business or exercise in general?
Rarely.
So the vast majority of these.
I don't do promo posts.
No.
Yeah. And
so all of these are just you being an engaged member of the community.
Yeah, just commenting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Or even just, and you don't need to comment, but even just liking things so people know that it's been seen, or using that as conversation points in your real world, in your community, like that kind of thing. Yeah, it's often, did you see that conversation on the community Facebook group? That comes up. Speaking of Facebook as well, events, if you're hosting an event, or like something that I've created today was we're doing a fundraiser. So I've made an event for it. It becomes easy to share. You can location tag, things like that. I don't really know any local influencers, but if that was, up your alley, local influencers, if that's a thing, that's an online thing.
Yeah. Look, I think you're doing a great job with, like a phrase we used before, those micro influencers, right? I think all of your girls, they are your influencers. And I would say you're going to get more traction out of that than from a Kardashian posting about your business, right? Because they are there in it. Yeah. Yeah,
for sure. So that's that cheerleader group. Like I've got a messenger group that I can say, can you put some love behind this post? It's not an often thing, but I definitely do use that. And because a lot of the time, the algorithm's going to algorithm, and you don't know who's going to see your stuff or remember your stuff. So, don't feel bad to ask for help or ask for support. People generally do love to support.
Yeah.
And the last one would be build guides or write articles for local activities or outings in your area. So, for example, on my website, you'll find a pram-friendly walks in Bayswater, or a family-friendly bushwalks in Perth. So things like that. And then if you do something like that and you share it and you tag your local council, or the other local groups that are interested in those things, and then they share it.
This is
share it.
Smart. Yeah, I think so many fitness businesses, or businesses in general, who go down this content marketing route, which they should, it's a very smart way to market. They are creating content that solve the health and fitness pain points of their avatar, which is great because you want to position yourself as an expert, as we've spoken about.
Yes.
But what I love that you're doing is you're not just solving the health and fitness pain points of your avatar, you're solving all of the pain points of your avatar. Where can I go for a walk with my toddler in a pram? And then they end up reading this article. They then navigate their way around that website and they say, this is a health and fitness business in my space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that, obviously that's important to me, I feel, because my avatar is that person that doesn't want health and fitness to overtake their life. They have a life outside of health and fitness. Some even there might be people in us that are in our group that are, say, doing a marathon or training for something in particular, but most people are just training for life, not just training for life. Most people are training for life.
Yeah. Or
training to live well, live a full, happy life. And there's a lot to a full, happy life. So at the beginning, my content was very, I can eat this, exercise that, blah, blah, blah. And now it's like, well, there's so much more, so much more interesting stuff that you can talk about and share.
Okay. So you've basically separated these down into offline profile building, online profile building. You said off the top that the common theme is that you have a clearly defined USP
Mhm.
And I think the phrase you used was provide a delightful service to sort
Delightful
of
quality service,
underpins.
delightful quality service. Yeah.
All right, I like that because it also it's a term that resonates with your avatar as well.
Yes.
Um, are you are you doing all these strategies at the same time? Are you doing one at a time? Do you do them sometimes? Do you do them always? What does this look like, big picture?
Yeah. So a lot of them now are kind of built into my everyday or a little bit more on autopilot. Like I don't have to think too much about them, but there's definitely layers. There's not just, I never just did one thing and did that. And then at the end of the week went, where are the new people? And then threw that out the window. Again, it was just about doing one and layering on top of that. But yeah, probably to start, the big one was I focused on those networks with businesses, network that can give back to my community, networks that with businesses that my community align with, just getting myself out into the community. Yeah.
Yeah.
With screaming kid in tow sometimes, like.
And it just adds to the
Yeah,
authenticity,
just
right?
that's it.
It,
That's it.
it's probably a good
It's all
marketing
part
strategy.
of
Why do you keep pinching your kids to make them cry to get attention?
it.
Marketing strategies from Renee. Um, so so it's, again, as we said, it's an additive effect. And I would imagine that putting a magnet on the side of your car is not going to build a booming business.
Nope.
You volunteering or you posting in a group is not going to build a booming business. You wearing your colors and your branding.
Yeah.
But the additive effect of these, it sounds like it's a little bit done often, done regularly. I
Yeah.
love the fact that you're not getting sucked into what is the latest marketing trend? Let's do
Yeah.
this. Forget about everything else. It just seems very smart and consistent. And I'm going to say easy, but maybe easy is not the right
Mm.
word. It's very simple,
Yeah.
but it's not easy because people aren't doing it. If it were easy, everyone would be doing it because they're looking for that quick fix. And it
Yeah.
sounds like your philosophy with your members is very anti quick fix, and your
Yeah.
philosophy in business seems to mirror that. And it seems to be working well for both your members and your business.
Yeah. You've also got to be okay with just getting the content. Just put your face on camera, just snap the photo of the coffee, and that, like, actually using technology in a quick and efficient way is a skill. So people know when they go out to breakfast with me not to touch their food until I've done the thing. Like, that is just known now. And like, I think that's ridiculous, but building a healthy, helping build a strong, healthy community is important to me. They know this is important to me. I used to hate on it and be like, oh, just, there's that balance of put your phone away. And obviously I don't have my phone out all the time, but if you're going to create content, you've got to create content. So
It's
you've
a
got to
cost of
think
doing
like a
business.
content. Yeah. You've got to think like a
Yeah.
content creator. Take the things, the more you do it, the better you get out of it, kind of thing. Yeah.
So
That's maybe a big hurdle for people, is they're like, oh, but the videos look so polished, and but you got to start somewhere.
yeah, and I almost think
Like
that
tell
if
our
they do
clients.
look too polished, it's alienating your people. I mean, it's a digital version of you operating from a community hall, which doesn't
Yeah.
look polished. It makes it real and authentic.
Yeah.
And um, you with tears in your eyes after school drop off is authentic. And if you
Yeah.
have a beautiful filter on that and your skin is faultless and your hair's done, it completely undermines what it is you're trying to
Yeah.
be, the authenticity and the vulnerability of it.
Yeah.
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 You've been hinting at this Google test.
Yeah.
What is the Google test?
Essentially, just Google your name. Just Google your name, your full name, and see what comes up. And ideally, you want your business to come up. And I suppose depending on, you and your niche and what's important to you, other things should come up as well. So if I Googled my name, you would see Say Yes Fitness. You would see that I'm involved as a volunteer in my community. You would see I've won an award, that I'm on LinkedIn or whatever it is. You wouldn't just see stuff from me. You would see stuff from the community, or you would see me out there in the community. So that's a bit of a test. If you Googled yourself, what does come up? What picture does it paint for you? And then
Okay.
same token, if you Googled your name, your business name, what comes up there as well?
Well, I've just done this. I've just Googled your name. The first
What
result
can you tell me about?
is your LinkedIn profile.
Oh, there
Uh,
you go. Because it wasn't for me when I did it the other day.
well,
But
here
yeah,
you go. So
yeah,
you are the owner and head trainer at Say Yes Fitness, mother of two, small business owner, food lover, loud laugher, health and phys ed teacher, etc. Then
yeah,
there are 6 images. The first is you receiving a Citizen of the Year award on the City of
yeah,
Bayswater website.
yeah,
There's then you receiving another award posted on LinkedIn. Um, Another award here, a couple more LinkedIn posts. There's Say Yes Fitness contact page.
yeah,
There's your Pinterest. There are 2 links to the City of Bayswater Citizen of the Year awards. So
yeah.
everything you're saying, I've just Googled you, and your digital
Footprint.
profile, your digital presence
Yeah,
definitely echoes what you've said,
yeah,
which would tell me it's working. From a digital perspective, it's working.
yeah.
From an offline perspective, have you got any stories or any moments
So
where
many stories.
you've been recognized, where someone has seen you in the local Coles and said,
Yeah,
you're famous from Instagram. Have you had any
yeah,
moments
yeah,
where
yeah.
this has
Oh,
worked out in the community?
yeah, for sure. I hear things like people come up and say, "Oh, hi Renee, this might sound a bit odd, but I've been following you on social media and for quite some time and blah 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 blah." Or when people join, they'll say something like, "Well, I saw your car magnet, and then I saw a lady wearing your shirt at the shops, and I thought, well, this is a sign, and I gave you a call." Um, I heard a story once where one of our members was up in Coral Bay and she was wearing some earrings that I had gifted her because earrings are a big part of my personal brand. It's an easy way to make your outfit a bit jazzy when all you wear is activewear. And the cafe owner or the lady that was serving the coffee said, "Oh, do you know Renee? I recognize those earrings."
Wow.
So she was working up there. And I do have to often remind my family and my husband, if you drive in my car with my magnets on them, you're a smiling, courteous member of the community. Not that
Yeah.
he's not,
Yeah.
but I'm just like, just remember, people will recognize your face. People will recognize potentially our kids' faces as well, which
Mm,
in a way is good, but also a little bit scary.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I've definitely had moments where people look at me like they know me, but I'm like, I don't know. Do I know you? And then they'll come up and say, this might sound silly, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Look,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's been really refreshing about this conversation with you. Not that podcasts existed 30 years ago, but I've got a sense that if you were interviewed 30 years ago, 80% of these strategies you've mentioned would have been what people were doing for marketing then. And oh man, there's so much noise and over
Yeah.
information and hype and trends, particularly in the digital space. And it's
Yeah.
so hard to keep up. You can't keep up because as soon
No.
as you've learnt it, it's all changed, right?
Yeah. And
And it's
sometimes those trends align with what you do and you're like, wicked, I'm on trend. And then they change. You're like,
it's okay. I'll go back to
change
what I was
again.
doing before because
Yeah,
it's working. Yeah. And look, I
exactly.
think in such a saturated and overwhelming digital marketing landscape,
Mm.
I think your ability to go analog and literally press the flesh with people and shake hands and buy their
Yeah.
coffees and talk to them at the local netty game, it's so refreshing that that still works. And I think the takeaway for people is you can go full circle and you can end up
Mm.
doing the basic things that work well and
Yeah.
being a member of the community, a citizen in the community.
Yeah.
And it's a great marketing strategy.
Yeah.
If people were to do one thing and they were to wake up tomorrow morning and they were going to do a single thing, the first step in becoming locally famous, what should that thing be?
Um, Put on your business shirt, go down to your local cafe and buy a meal there or buy a coffee there, take a photo of it, video of it, shout out on the socials, leave them a review. Maybe buy a pay it forward coffee for the next person or something. Just do something good in that in your community. That would be
I
get
love
out in
that.
the community.
I think it's such a low barrier to entry first
Yeah,
step, and sales in coffee around Perth will also go through the roof as a result of this. So,
Yeah.
um, I so appreciate your style. I so appreciate your willingness to share this. Um, I know you've got kids to pick up from school.
Yes,
I've got a 3-year-old who is about to finish her first full
first
day
full
of
day.
pre-kindy. So Dad's going to go and
Mhm.
pick her up as well.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for your time and for your generosity in sharing that. I know this will be of benefit to a lot of people.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
Thanks, Renee.